Welcome back to the Diet Diaries of a Dull Dad. We are episode number 11, which means it's week 10 of the diet, and another good update to have. Another pound and a half has come off on average. We've seen some new lows on the scales, and definitely starting to see the physique really come alive now. It's 16 pounds down from the very beginning. I've touched into the 168 pound mark. Started off at 186, so actually that's 18 pounds because I can't do the maths clearly. 18 pounds off in the space of 10-11 weeks. 10 weeks of dieting. This is obviously week 11 of the YouTube, so 10 weeks of dieting, 18 pounds off, just about averaging, close to that £2 a week, and seeing things change. As I said, like lots more lines coming through. The t-shirt, the vest tan, very much apparent in these photos as well. Something that I just absolutely cannot shift, but I'm not going to complain because we've had an absolutely amazing week of sunshine. This week has also included a couple more high days, which I touched on last week in what the plan was for this coming week. So 2 more high days of food. Both of those days had an extra 150 grams of carbs in them, so an extra 600 calories on each of those 2. Those happen on Wednesday and Friday. They would have happened on Thursday and Friday, but because it was a public holiday here last Thursday, so just a little bit of info for anyone who happens to care, the French typically celebrate the public holidays on the actual day they happen. So what I've always been used to back in the UK is typically the closest Monday, but the French, generally speaking, they celebrate them on the actual day. So as the 1st of May was the Thursday was a public holiday, and what a lot of the big employers do then do as well is they bridge what they call bridging the gap. So the gap between the public holiday and the weekend, a lot of employers just give their staff that extra day off. So Lara had a Thursday and Friday off last week. It's happening again this week because it's another public holiday on Thursday, which means another bridge day. So another 2 days off for her. I'm not so lucky being self-employed. Days off don't particularly exist, even though I'm trying to find a little bit more balance in my life. But yeah, really good stuff this week. As I say, sun was shining, managed to get out and do a little bit of gardening. I also had to fix both of our toilets. So there's a little bit of a slightly different take on how things were going this week. For some reason, they both decided that they were going to break at the same time, and the internal mechanisms on both of them needed replacing. So first thing I had to do was go and get them. So I had to actually go and use a bit of my my French skills to go and ask for and make sure that I got the right things, and then come home, read those instructions and get those changed. But managed to do it. Both of them seemed to be working. One of them did need a little bit of a tweak, but that was my fault because I noticed I hadn't removed something that I should have done when I then went back to it the second time around. So actually, if I had just done it properly the first time, it would have been fine. But yeah, 2 toilets fixed, really solid week. Sun was shining until Saturday when we had a pretty massive storm. Storm overnight, Louis not bothered in the slightest, slept through the entire thing, which is good for us. And then it's been slightly cooler this week. So, we've probably seen a drop of like 10-12 degrees, but the sun is back out, which is lovely to see. So in terms of the physique update, that's about all I've got for this week. So this week is just a very samey standard week. So back on it, no high days, just back to where we were in terms of calories and macros. Still 4 times 30 minutes of cardio after each of my sessions. 4 training sessions a week, steps at around about 8 to 10,000 on top of the cardio. And all in all, just very much looking forward to another pretty stable one, because we've got yet more travel coming up in a couple of weeks' time, where we are heading back to England for a couple of weeks. So that's going to be another long journey, another long drive, another opportunity to manage life on the road, which I'll talk to you all about, I'm sure. But just one of the things I also wanted to touch on in this video, because it's something that, again, I speak to a lot of people about. I have these conversations on a regular basis. It's making your diet as easy as possible. The diet typically is the thing that people struggle with most. If you say to someone, how many times can you get into the gym? Perfect. Here's the training plan. A lot of people are very good when it comes to the training. They can go to the gym for 45 minutes to an hour, 3, 4, 5 times a week. They can pretty much get some steps in. They might even have that little bit of time to get a bit of extra cardio in. the diet side is a thing that most people struggle with. And I'm so encouraging of making that as easy as possible. And what that might mean is that actually you might just need to simplify things. So one, and there's so many different approaches to food. I'm actually quite a big advocate of having like structure, having some sort of meal plan. And that doesn't mean it's prescriptive. That doesn't mean it's just a list of foods and you can eat nothing else. But having some degree of structure to your food makes life so much easier. And one of the ways that you can do that really simply, if you have, if you're someone who eats like a fairly normal 3 meals a day and a couple of snacks, like it's a very common way for people to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, might be a mid-morning snack, mid-afternoon snack, or mid-afternoon snack, early evening snack. 3 meals, 2 snacks. That's how you like to eat. For each of those meals, so for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, have 2 to 3 different options. So that might mean, for example, that your breakfast, you've got like an overnight oats option, really easy to make and batch up, that meets the calories and macros you're aiming for. You might have like an egg option, so that could be egg with some lean meat, some toast, lots of salad and veggies. You might have some sort of yogurt bowl option. Again, all of these options really easy to do. You might even have like a smoothie. So if you're someone who just doesn't have masses of time in the morning, but you'd like to have something to keep you going, have that smoothie made the night before, get it in the fridge, pick it up as you're walking out the door, drink it on your way to work. Easy peasy. 3 to 4 different options for breakfast. Same thing for lunch. So you might have some sort of protein salad, chicken salad, for example. There might be a bit of pasta in there if you've got the carbs available. You might take like leftovers from the night before's dinner. So let's say, for example, you had a spaghetti bolognese the night before. That spaghetti bolognese could form your lunch for the day. Or you might have an option to buy food out. But again, it could be like a salad bowl with some cooked meat. It might be a wrap, something that's really easy to have with you. And then again, same principle for dinner. So, whether you're looking at having something that's really easy to batch up and make in advance, spaghetti bolognese, chili con carne, curries, cottage pies, stews, all of these things that make up in big batch quantities really easily, soups, fresh homemade soups. And then you've got your options. So that makes life really easy. And each of those meals can then have its own calorie and macro targets. They fit your day. Snacks can then be as you please. There might be, like the protein puddings, protein shakes. You might have nuts, fruit, protein bars, all different options that you could have as snacks. But just making it easy and having some sort of structure, I honestly think for a lot of people, and especially to begin with, it can make life massively simpler. And it makes shopping easier because you know what you've got to buy. It can make budgeting easier because, again, you know how much you're going to spend on these things. And it just takes away a lot of the guesswork. Over time, you might then decide that you've got a bit more of an idea and an understanding, and you might go more towards a sort of tracking route or even a bit more of an intuitive eating approach. But to begin with, I really believe that having more structure can make such a big difference to someone. So if you have been struggling with food, if food is that one thing that seems to let you down every time you try and lose a bit of weight, get in shape, have a think about getting some greater structure, having a little bit of a meal plan. Doesn't mean it's restrictive. It doesn't mean you have to eat exactly the same thing every day. If you don't want to, you can, because again, that can make life really simple. But even within that, you can have little bits of variety, the way that you prepare your meats, the spices and stuff that you use in them, for example. So make life as easy as possible when you do start to diet, and you will notice changes happen so much quicker. We've all got plenty of decisions that we need to make in life as it is. If you're then, worried and thinking all the time about where your next meal is, what it's going to be, what's in the fridge, what's in the cupboards, all of that makes life so much more complicated, and we just don't need that. So yeah, definitely consider a little bit more structure, a little bit more of a meal plan approach. And I really do think that will make a massive difference to the progress you're making. And if you're struggling, if you need some help in that regard, please do let me know. I'm more than happy to offer some support. If you want to join the team, fantastic. But even if it's just to have a chat about what might work best, I'm more than happy to help. And I've got plenty of recipe ideas, you know, all with the calorie and macro information detailed. If you want a copy of those, send me a message and I'm more than happy to send those across for you completely free of charge as a little bit of a thank you. So hope that makes sense. Hope this has been an interesting one. Fairly standard steady week for me coming up, he says, hopefully until the next thing happens and the toilets aren't the thing that breaks and something else does. But fingers crossed, it's going to be a straightforward one this week. Training, cardio, steps, diet, all bang on, and we'll get some good progress happening next week.